This is the farmhouse where I grew up, where my father grew up, where my grandfather grew up, where my great-grandfather grew up. The main house was built in 1860. We got electricity in 1943 with the Rural Electrification Act. And now what I am doing is I'm removing the majority of the 1960 updates and reverting the era back to somewhere between 1920 and 1950. I'm going to show you each room in the order that I did them years ago. While I am no more of a carpenter or a designer than any member of my family has ever been, I'm doing it to suit me and my tastes. In this chapter, we're going to address the floor or the unlevelness of it. I started by cutting strips of 2x4 and 12 inches on center, laying them on the floor and checking it with a level, and then covering it with plywood. And here you can see I've got half the floor done. The worst part on the right hand side was the worst out of level, so I'm working my way towards the kitchen. Now here you can see I've gone a little bit beyond half, and you can see the floor is starting to rise up on the left, and for one reason alone, I could not go any farther with the plywood, and I'll show you in the next image. Here you can see the new plywood I put down, it's level, and as you approach the wall, you can see that there's a dip and then it angles up above the level of the floor. But if you notice, the plywood is almost to the sill of the door. When we put the door in, we didn't realize just how bad the floor was, and being lazy, I didn't want to take that door out and raise it up to get the floor perfectly level. Plus, against that far wall, nobody's going to be walking there because of a couple reasons that you'll see later on. So I just decided it's going to be a little out of level. And in this image, you can see just how much out of level it will be. So just like we did in the pantry in Book 2, Chapter 1, we laid down heavy plastic, put down play sand, and we're going to use that to bridge the gap between the plywood that's level and the area that we were going to leave out of level. And here is a view from the outer door looking towards the kitchen annex, showing the plastic and the sand all screeded and level. And then that area was covered with the plastic. It was folded over, and then another piece of plywood, as you can see, was put down, and that was going to be the base of our floor. Not perfect, but considering what we started with, it's not bad. And here's a look from the kitchen annex towards the outer door. You can see how the plywood kind of bends up right against the wall, like we talked about earlier, and that is as good as it's going to get, unless I was going to take that door out and raise it up. And here you can see we're starting to lay the floor. We chose Home Depot Allure Saw Cut Arizona. As you can see here, we're 4 boards out from the wall. Now, we learned a few things from this woman on the internet that did a video, that if your floor is not level, you assemble several pieces of the floor that goes all the way across the room on the level part, and then you slide it up into the bad area so you don't have to fight it. And then with the 4 layers that we've got, the 5th layer is getting pretty level, and it should be, and it was fairly easy to snap together. And you can see here that we are scooting right across the floor once we got into the level section. And here we are nearly done. We've got just a couple more rows to go. Floor's looking pretty good. And here it is complete. For a mudroom, we think the floor looks pretty good. And we chose the Allure because when you put it down and lock it together, it's waterproof. And hopefully we will not have any more water problems like we found when we pulled up the original floor. Now, against that kitchen wall where the floor is really out of level, we wanted to put a little bench so that you could sit down and put boots on or take them off. But because the floor is so unlevel, we had to put these extra long adjusting feet on the bench so that it would be level. And here you can see we've got all 4 adjusters drilled and screwed into the legs of the bench. And this is what our reproduction bench looks like. It looks like it's very old, but it's brand new. And with the adjusting feet, we could make the bench set level. And that's why we weren't too concerned in that corner about the floor not being level, because we knew we were going to put that bench there. Nobody's going to be walking there. Now, if you're interested in getting a bench or any other piece of furniture that looks like that, the company is GF Antiques down in Birdsboro, PA. I'll leave a link in the description, and you can contact Dave. We've gotten several pieces from him. I've got 2 of the benches. Claudia's got an end table, and that is how we did the floor in the mudroom.